Now, without further ado, I'll ask Ms. Sara Cheng to come forward and do her presentation.
Thank you, Shaoquett. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to share some of my experience and observations on Asian market and opportunities and challenges we face. I think it is universally acknowledged that 21st century is Asian-centric. Asia contributes more than 60% of the world population. 10 years ago, it contributed around 20% of the total GDP in the global market. Today is 29%. In 10 years' time, Asia is going to contribute more than 35% of the global GDP. And for Australia, Asia plays a much more important role probably than most developed countries. Actually, 8 out of the top 10 trading partners of Australia are Asian countries, with China as number 1, followed by Japan. And if we look at our top 5 trading partners, 4 from Asian countries. And also 8 out of 11 free trade agreement or multilateral trade agreement. Actually, 8 of those are with Asian countries or with specific Asian countries or with a group of Asian countries. There's still 4 unenforced free trade agreements. Australia has 4 countries, and 3 of them are with Asian countries, Indonesia, India, and Hong Kong. So Asia definitely plays a very, very important role for Australia and also for our future. I don't think I need to further address the importance of Asia to Australia. I think the key thing is what opportunities Asia presents to Australia, what challenges we face, and how to leverage Asia to increase and enhance Australian companies' global competency. And then I really would like to go back to my free trade agreement and see how how we can leverage that to fully leverage the opportunities Asia presents. For those who are in the world of international trade, free trade agreement means bilateral or multilateral preferential treatment. Specifically, it could be the reduction or removal of import duty, the reduction or removal of soft trade barriers, for example, import-export quota, accreditation, etc. And then Australia actually has 11 free trade agreements or multilateral agreement in the global market, including 8 with Asian countries. If we look at all these free trade agreement and the multilateral trade protocol between Australia and Asian countries, that is pretty much the most comprehensive multilateral trade agreement in the whole global market. And for Australian company, then how do we leverage this arrangement? I think probably imagine this way. If you're a high-tech company, you maintain your brand here, you maintain your global sales marketing function and your headquarters here in Sydney, and then you have your R&D center in India. You have your raw material sourced from Vietnam and spare parts made in China. And then you do the final assembly in Australia to retain and protect your IP. And then you export globally. So in every step, you benefit from this free trade agreement. The import-export between Australia and China in terms of Vietnam, for example, then there's no duty. When we have our products back to say it's a spare parts export back to Australia, there's no import duty. When we assemble the products and re-export to Asian countries, there's no import duty in those countries. So that put Australia in a very, very competitive position in Asian market. But also, when I talk about this, probably you can see how we leverage Asian market along the whole value chain. Your R&D center in India, your raw material supplier is from Vietnam, your spare parts manufacturer is in China, which is your production base, and then your regional distribution center is in Asia for Asian market. And you can even have a customer service center in Philippines or India or other Asian countries to leverage their low labor cost and advanced position in customer service. So this shows how we can leverage free trade agreement and then work with Asia market along the whole value chain. Probably your question is, is Asia really that competitive along the value chain? Actually, if we start from the value chain, if we start from R&D, actually lots of global or regional R&D centers are based in Asian countries. Twitter, for example, their regional R&D center is based in India. Mercedes-Benz regional R&D center is in India. China has Microsoft regional R&D center. And in also other countries, in Japan, in Korea, in Malaysia, you can see lots of regional R&D centers. And along the value chain, the next one is production. We all know China's works factory, and now lots of production also moving to Southeast Asia, while China is climbing along its value chain and to become a more advanced manufacturer, and then give those labor-intensive production to Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is emerging as another production base for lots of global businesses. And I know Dr. Shi is going to talk about Southeast Asia. I really look forward to it because it is the next big thing. It's not something that will happen, it's happening. Southeast Asia will be a really, really interesting place to look at. And then further down the value chain, sales and marketing. When your production is based in Asia, then your global distribution center is based in Asia. And then, of course, you can leverage, as I mentioned earlier, leverage Asian countries to provide customer service, equipped with current technology. We know lots of banks and telecommunications have moved their R&D centers and customer service centers, etc., to Asian countries. To Asian market. So it's not something it is going to happen. It has already happened. I think for Australian companies, it's really how to integrate those resources and capabilities of each market and to increase our global competency. I know people talk a lot about domestic market economy, but actually there's also another term, global market economy. They work on the same principle, which is everybody does what they're most good at. And then every country has their own competitive advantage in the global market. So in that case, the relationship between countries in the business world is not competition, but collaboration. It's about how you position yourself along the value chain, what you are good at, and how you collaborate with other resources in other countries in global market to build your brand and maintain your global competency. So talking about this, how to leverage opportunities, and I know people also talk about some challenges. Asia is a very comprehensive, diverse market. It's a moving target. Compared with our counterparts in Europe and US, over 90% of Australian companies are SME. We're not large companies. We don't have the financial resources as some of our counterparts in other countries have. We don't have a huge load of gold in our pocket to work with the rest of the world. And we need very lean, flexible, nimble operation to be competitive in the global market. It seems to means that we are not financially strong enough. We are not huge. We don't have big brands like Coca-Cola and McDonald's. But on the other hand, we are not a big boat. It's very easy for us to switch and navigate through the very competitive and fast-moving global market, especially in Asia. Years ago, I actually co-authored the book, Engage China, The Realities for Australian Businesses. Back then, we interviewed, analyzed multiple Australian companies engaged in China market. And then we kind of found a term, small global enterprises, or micro multinationals, which means a small company, as most SMEs in Australia. And they own the brand here, well, they fully leverage production capabilities, and then the market, in the global market, and then to have a very lean operation. To tailor their products and services to the market needs. That eventually can become a competitive advantage. That sometimes being small could be a beautiful thing and could be a really, really competitive advantage for businesses here. So yes, there are challenges. Then it's back to us how to leverage that. I can give you a few examples. You probably heard about this water cube in Beijing 2008 Olympic. And that actually water cube was co-designed by PTW, an Australian architecture company, with an architecture company in China. So they found the right partner, and then they got the tender, then they work on a major project like this. Another company, that was a company that I provided consulting services years ago, is a small industrial design company, actually, but they are also #1 industrial design company in Australia. Around 16, 20 people in the company, it's not huge. And they design probably the most famous ATM machines, telephones, even some cars and pleasure boats you have ever heard of. And their clients are those iconic brands in Europe, in America. And those large companies, multinationals, outsource industrial design to a small Australian industrial design company. But do you know who really does the work? Actually, the Australian company outsources that design work to a group of young industrial designers sitting in a high-rise building in Shenzhen. That was a partner we identified for them, and the Australian company partnered with the Chinese company. Australian company got the business from the rest of the world, while the Chinese company delivered the work. So they worked very closely. So they leverage both the high-tech and low labor costs of China, but also leverage the reputation, the brands, networks of Australian companies to work on the global market. So that means how we can work as small companies and leveraging Asian market and then our Asian resources to work on the global market. So I think another challenge we heard a lot is people are saying, well, Asia is a difficult market. It's not just a huge, diverse, but it's not just a moving target, but also the regulation, the language, the business practice. Sometimes it's really, really frustrating dealing with Asian countries. They work on different pace. They have different business practices. And I think the key word is not difficult, but it's difference. If you embrace the difference, then your journey could be much, much easier. For me, I think the key to succeed and work with Asian market is to be committed. Asian market is a growing pie and a one-stop solution. And the key is you master the game rule. So if you're committed, accept difference, and keep calm and cool, working with the market, then you will definitely become a rising star and be more competitive in the global market. Thank you.